Hello, my dear children. Children, let's continue with the collision we started last time. In the last class, we studied elastic collision in one dimension. And today we are going to study other two types of collisions. One is inelastic collision and the other one is perfectly inelastic collision. So let's continue with inelastic collision. Well, children, as far as this second type of collision is concerned, we know that coefficient of restitution for this collision is less than 1 and greater than 0. And also in this type of collision, linear momentum is conserved. Linear momentum is in fact conserved in all three types of collisions. And the third quantity, that is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is not conserved in this collision. There is loss of energy. Kinetic energy before collision is more than kinetic energy after collision. Well, since coefficient of restitution, which is ratio of speed of separation to speed of approach, is less than 1, therefore speed of separation is always less than speed of approach. Objects approach with greater speed, but after collision their speed decreases, the speed of separation is less. That is what is inelastic collision. Speed of separation is E times VA, that is speed of approach. Children, let's understand this inelastic collision further with the help of an example, numerical example. Well, the numerical is read like this. A ball is dropped from a surface over a surface from height h. A ball is dropped over a surface from height h. Ball collides inelastically with coefficient of restitution E. Find the height up to which the ball would rise after first collision, after second collision, after third collision, and after say nth collision. We can add one more part, after third collision also. So what is the height up to which the ball is going to rise after first collision, second collision, third collision, and say nth collision? There are a number of things we can work out in this particular example. So let's see what is the height up to which it is going to rise after collision number 1. Well, children, this is a ball which is dropped from height h. Since the ball is dropped, therefore its initial velocity is going to be 0. As it moves down, of course it moves along gravity and it strikes the surface. The velocity with which it strikes the surface is the velocity of approach. So what is this velocity? This velocity is say v1, and this v1 is going to be found out by the relation v square is equal to u square plus 2as. As the ball is moving down, well, the final velocity v1 is going to be what? v1 square, initial velocity is 0. Well, as it is moving down along gravity, therefore a is going to be plus g, and by the time it reaches the surface, it covers distance h. So final velocity v1 square is equal to 0 plus 2gh. So what is this final velocity? Final velocity is v1 is equal to 2gh square root, or simply v1 square is equal to 2gh. Well, coefficient of restitution E is the ratio of speed of separation to speed of approach. It collides with the surface which is at rest. Well, so velocity of approach is the velocity of the ball itself, and after collision it moves up, and the speed with which the ball moves up is the speed of separation. So what is this speed of separation? Speed of separation is u1, speed of approach is v1, and the ratio is E, that is coefficient of restitution. This simply means v1 is going to be what? E times, u1 is going to be what? E times v1. So this is the speed of separation, u1. Well, now the ball is going to move up with initial velocity u1 against gravity, and it will keep moving until it comes to rest. So for the upward motion of the ball, yeah, let us again apply the same equation. V square is equal to u square plus 2s. Well, the ball keeps moving until it comes to rest. Therefore, final velocity is what? 0. Initial velocity, of course, is what? u1, that is the speed of separation. As the ball is moving up, this acceleration is going to be minus g, and if it covers distance h1, that is the height up to which it is going to rise. It will keep rising until it comes to rest. So what is this height h1? Well, that is what is the displacement. And if we solve it, what do we get? U square is equal to 2g h1, or h1 is equal to u1 square upon 2g. This is the height up to which the ball is going to rise after collision number 1. We can further solve it. What is u1 square? u1 square is going to be e square v1. Let us substitute this value here. Yeah, u1 square is equal to e square v1. And what is v1? v1 is this. Let us substitute this v1 here now. Or this v1 square is what? 2gh. If we substitute here v1 square as 2gh, what do we get? E square 2gh upon 2g, and we can see that 2g cancels out. What do we get h1 as? We get h1 as e square h. So this is the height up to which the ball is going to rise after collision number 1. Now, for second collision, the ball will start from here. For the first collision, it started from height h. For the second collision, it is going to start its journey from height h1, and the whole process is going to be repeated. So after collision, it would strike the surface, say with velocity, with the speed of approach v2, and speed of separation would be what? u2 is equal to e times v2. The whole process is going to be repeated. The height up to which it is going to rise, h2, is going to be what? Yeah, that h2 is going to be h1. If we repeat the whole process, this h2 is going to be what? E square times h1. In the first case, the ball started from height h. The height up to which it rises or rebounds is what? h1 is e square h. So this h2 up to which it is going to rise again after collision is going to be what? E square h1. E square h1. And after second collision, again it is going to rise up. For second collision, it will fall from height h2. So the distance up to which it is going to rise after second collision is going to be what? h3. That h3 is going to be what? E square h2. And so on. If we continue this, we can get the height up to after fourth collision, fifth collision, and nth collision. I am going to generalize it. See, this is h1 is equal to e square h. What is h2? E square h1. And if we substitute this value e square h here, what do we get? h2 as e square to the power 2h. And if we substitute this h2 here, we get h3. What is h3? h3 is e square h2. h2 is this, e square to the power 2h. And if we substitute this value here, what do we get? E square to the power 3h. So this is height after collision number 3. This is height after collision number 3. This is height after collision number 2. This is height after collision number 1. So what is going to be height after nth collision? The height up to which the ball is going to rise after nth collision is going to be what? E square to the power n. E square to the power n times h. So this is the height up to which the ball is going to rise after nth collision. Let's continue with perfectly inelastic collision. Well, children, we already know that in perfectly inelastic collision, the speed of separation is 0. As the result, the coefficient of restitution is also 0. So this is a situation here. This is mass m1, this is mass m2. They are moving over a smooth horizontal surface with the velocities u1 and u2. u1 of course is greater than u2, and both these masses collide perfectly inelastically. When there is perfectly inelastic collision, both the masses do not separate after collision. They get stuck to each other and they move together. And let us say they move together with velocity v, and this v is called as common velocity. Well, before collision, of course, we have speed of approach, that is u1 minus u2. But what is the speed of separation? 0. Both the masses move together with common velocity v. In all type of collisions, linear momentum is conserved. So is here. So what is momentum before collision? Momentum before collision, momentum before collision is m1 u1 plus m2 u2. And momentum after collision is going to be m1 plus m2 into v. V is the common velocity. So this is total final momentum, momentum after collision. This is momentum before collision. So what is this v? This v is going to be m1 u1 plus m2 u2 upon m1 plus m2. This is what is your common velocity. Common velocity. Yeah, children, don't cram any formula. You must know the concept. Well, what is loss of energy? We know that in both inelastic collision as well as perfectly inelastic collision, there is loss of energy. And in this perfectly inelastic collision, there is maximum loss of energy. Loss of energy is, say, delta K. This delta K is loss of energy. And this loss of energy is going to be the difference of initial kinetic energy minus final kinetic energy. Why initial minus final? Since there is loss of energy, therefore total final energy is less than total initial energy. So loss is what? Ki minus Kf. Total initial energy, kinetic energy minus total final kinetic energy. So what is this total initial energy? Total initial energy is 1 upon 2 m1 u1 square. This is kinetic energy of mass number 1. Kinetic energy of mass number 2 is 1 upon 2 m u2 square. And what is total final energy? Yeah, it is 1 upon 2. Both the masses are moving together. Yeah, both the masses, that is m1 plus m2, move together with velocity v, which is common velocity. So this is total kinetic energy finally, and this is total kinetic energy initially. We can further solve it. Yeah, if we substitute the values of v, then what do we get? Yeah, 1 upon 2. This is m1 plus m2 v. And what is v? V we have just found out. And this v is what? m1 u1 plus m2 u2 whole square upon m1 plus m2 whole square. You can see that one power of this m1 plus m2 cancels out. And we solve it. We solve it further by taking LCM as what? By taking LCM as twice m1 plus m2. Yeah, 2 times m1 plus m2 is taken as LCM, and we solve the numerator, and what do we get? We get, m1 m2, well, in the bracket we get what? u1 square plus u2 square minus 2 u1 u2. This is what do we get in the bracket. Or we can write it as delta K is equal to m1 m2 upon 2 m1 plus m2 u1 minus u2 whole square. So this is the value of loss of energy. This is the loss of energy during perfectly inelastic collision. Children, let us understand a very popular application of perfectly inelastic collision. And this very popular application of perfectly inelastic collision is ballistic pendulum. So what is there in ballistic pendulum? In ballistic pendulum we have an object of mass m hanging just like a pendulum. This is a string of length L, and with this string is hanging a mass capital M, say a sandbag. A bullet is fired over this mass, which is nothing but sandbag. If a bullet, this is bullet of mass m is fired over this capital mass M, and this bullet, after hitting this mass, penetrates the mass and stays inside the mass. That means this bullet gets stuck with the mass. And what happens? As a result, the combined mass moves with certain velocity, say v, and this combined mass will keep moving until it comes to rest. So what is the height up to which this mass rises, or what is the angle theta by which this string rises, this mass rises, and when the mass rises to this extreme position, what is this angle theta the string makes from vertical? Anything may be asked in your exam. So how to work out for this angle theta or for this height up to which this mass, the combined mass rises? So the working starts like this. Well, by conservation of momentum, what is momentum before collision? Momentum before collision is the momentum of this bullet, and that is mv. This is at rest, hanging vertically at its mean position. Immediately after collision, this bullet gets stuck with this mass m, and the combined mass move with velocity v. So what is final momentum? Final momentum is going to be combined mass m plus m and common velocity v, the product m plus m into v. So this is momentum before collision mv, and this is m plus m times capital V. Capital V is common velocity, that is the velocity with which this mass is going to rise. Up to what height this mass is going to rise, for this we have to apply law of conservation of mechanical energy. This is the position 1 of this combined mass, and this is position 2 of the combined mass, and at this position, the combined mass comes to rest. This is extreme position. This combined mass cannot move beyond this position. So by what vertical distance this mass is going to rise, that we are going to find out by law of conservation of mechanical energy. Kinetic energy here is K1, potential here energy is what? U1. Kinetic energy here is going to be K2, and potential energy is going to be what? Say U2. So what is K1? K1 is going to be 1 upon 2 m plus m, the combined mass, into velocity v square. What is its potential energy here? 0. As the vertical separation between 1 and 2 is what? H, and that H here is what? 0. So when the mass reaches here, its kinetic energy becomes 0. Why? Because it comes to rest at this extreme position. When it comes to rest at the extreme position, kinetic energy of the combined mass becomes 0, that is K2 0, and potential energy is what? mgh, the distance h by which it moves up along gravity, that is m plus mgh. So what is this? M plus m, that cancels out. What do we get? V square upon 2 is equal to gh. This simply means h is going to be what? H is going to be v square, v square upon 2g. And if we substitute the value of v here, the common mass, common velocity, what do we get? M square v square upon m plus m whole square, and then 2g. This is the value of height h up to which the mass is going to rise, the combined mass is going to rise. Well, we can also find out this angle theta. And how we are going to find out this angle theta? Say, the length of the string is what? L. From here to here, the length of the string is L. And if the mass is rising by distance h along vertical, well, the string makes an angle theta. What is this length? The length of the string is L. This length, the projection of this L along this vertical is going to be what? L cos theta. This is L, this distance is going to be L cos theta. If from L we substitute L cos theta, what do we get? We get this h, which is vertical separation between the two positions. So what is this h? This h is going to be L minus L cos theta. We take L as common. What do we get? L in bracket 1 minus cos theta. So if we substitute this h here, if we substitute the value of h here and solve for theta, we'll also get to know the angle by which it is going to move up. So this was ballasting pendulum, children. So children, with this we come to the end of today's class. We'll meet very shortly with another lecture on another different, very important topic. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.